Hey everyone, and welcome to the Mic'd Avengers podcast, where we focus on martial arts and action cinema, but definitely delve into much more. My name is Jason from Martial Arts Theater 3000. I've been a lifelong fan of martial arts movies from Bruce Lee to the Venom Mob, Bruceploitation, and everything in between.
My name's Dragon, aka the Fanatical Dragon on YouTube. I also write the Blu-ray reviews for Eastern Heroes magazine right here in the UK. I'm about 4 decades into this love affair with East Asian cinema, specifically action cinema. Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan and the Shaw brothers got me into Hong Kong films, but unlike my buddy Jason, I've seen a whole bunch of Japanese, Indonesian and South Korean action flicks too. So over the coming episodes, every so often, we're going to force feed him something he has not seen.
And I'm Shaun, also known as Foo for Thought. It all started for me at the tender age of 14, where I discovered Jackie Chan's Drunken Master. From there, I kind of delved into old school Kung Fu, and that has been my passion for 30 plus years now. I also started delving into all realms of Asian cinema, and I'm very happy to say that these days I have a pretty strong passion for kind of dark Korean thrillers. If you like what you hear and you're enjoying the podcast, please give us a like, share and subscribe. And please enjoy this episode of the Mic'd Avengers.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Mic'd Avengers podcast. We're super excited. This is episode 12. We're doing a classic, and as always, I got my fellow Mic'd Avengers with me. We got Johnny, the Fanatical Dragon.
Greetings.
We got Sir Shaun, also known as Foo for Thought.
Howdy, partners.
And I'm Jason from Martial Arts Theater 3000. And today we're doing an Uber classic, a Shaw Brothers classic, which is appropriate. This is Shaw-Timber, as everyone knows, when we're recording this. And it is Kid with the Golden Arm. And we're super stoked for this. It's a Chang Cheh classic, a Venom Mob. I think I've said classic 8 times now, but you know. But yeah, let's jump right into it. I want to hear let's go to Dragon here. Let's hear where you first saw Kid with the Golden Arm. I want to get your backstory on it. Well, actually, before we do that, you want to do a little synopsis action?
I do, because I've got two. I've got one that's very on point. Actually, IMDb has crushed it this time. So IMDb tells us a criminal organization headed by a kung fu master nicknamed the Golden Arm Kid targets 200,000 gold taels being transported by a private security company who's hired a few martial artists for protection along with a drunkard sheriff, which is not bad.
Yeah, pretty decent.
So many of these sound the same. This always starts criminal organization 888.
There's a lot of crooks in the martial world.
That's true.
Google doesn't do quite such a good job. And Google tells us a team of bandits plan to steal gold that is carried by escorts and guards. The responsibility of protecting it falls on the shoulder of Yang Hu-yun, who has to make sure it reaches its destination. And I kind of feel if you mash those two together, you get a pretty accurate summary, because the IMDb one doesn't really mention the Golden Arms group or clan of very colorful different martial arts villains who all come together to try and steal the gold. But yeah, that's it. That's our synopsis.
Yeah.
Nice.
It doesn't have the weird a guy named Lowe, or it doesn't have
say like it's down to Philip to save the day.
Mr. Mang has to
Yes, exactly.
Billy Chang and his golden arms. Okay.
But yeah, so Dragon, I'd like to hear, when did you first see this? How was the rewatch?
I was trying to remember. I think the first time was probably just when I'd started getting deep into it's like the second cycle of titles that I was able to see, because the Made in Hong Kong VHS has got me initially into Shaw's, and I think their only Venom ones they put out were like 5 Venoms, Invincible Shaolin, and maybe I think they had Shaolin martial arts, but it's not really got that many of the Venoms in it. So I think it was really probably only Invincible Shaolin and 5 Deadly Venoms that I'd seen by the time that Celestial did the DVDs. So as soon as they became available through, I can't remember which website I was using back at the time, but I just started ordering everything I could that had the Venoms in it, and everything that I could that was made by Lau Garlong. So that was kind of when I saw the sort of bulk of them. So the very first cycle of Celestial DVDs is when I saw Kid with a Golden Arm. Oh, cool. And I think it arrived at a time when I'd read a lot about it. So I was probably more hyped for it back then going into it. And I'd already seen Invincible Shaolin, I'd already seen 5 Deadly Venoms, I'd already seen Crippled Avengers. I think I'd already seen even Life Gamble. It was pretty late in the lineup for me. And so it was maybe a little bit anticlimactic when I saw it the very first time round. I think I was maybe expecting more from it. Still absolutely loved it, but maybe didn't love it quite as much as I did Five Venoms and Invincible Shaolin and Crippled Avengers back then.
Mhm.
And rewatching it for the pod, my feelings haven't really changed. It's still an incredible movie. I still really love it, but for me, it's not the definitive Venom Mob movie. I think Invincible Shaolin and Crippled Avengers still kind of sort of tie for that position. Invincible, if we want to have the full, complete Venoms lineup. But really, personal favorite is probably still Crippled Avengers as being like, I think, the best movie that those dudes made together, even if they didn't have YP there for Crippled Avengers. But now there's still so much to love in Kid with the Golden Arm. Loved it for the rewatch. This time round, I jumped back and forth between the English dub and the subtitled version because it's so easy to on that glorious Arrow restoration that's on the Shawscope box. And I just had a really, really good time. Though this time it was weird. The thing that struck me that I never really noticed before was how much of a Seijun Suzuki influence there was in the opening titles section, with all the different colors matched up to the different fighters. Which I've been watching quite a lot of Japanese cinema and quite a lot of Seijun Suzuki movies, and that's very reminiscent of some of the stuff that Suzuki did. And it's quite similar to. Shaun, I know you watched Black Tight Killers pretty recently.
I did.
That kind of like super stark, like color filling the whole frame. I think was something that the Japanese were doing like 10 years before this. And I know Chang Che was a man of the world. So I kind of wondered, this time around was the first time that I was like, I wonder if they're riffing on what they were doing in Japan in the 60s here when he was doing the opening titles. Because it was nice that it wasn't just the straight plain backdrop that we kind of saw in a bunch of movies around that time. It was really nice that it cycled through the different colors that kind of matched each character really nicely. So yeah, the opening title sequence is dope, and the movie itself really, really good fun.
Well, that's what I got to say right there. That's an interesting entry on you because I can't imagine seeing that opening and it not being the English dub, because that opening with the vocals and saying number one was Golden Arm. I'm not going to get into my how I saw it when I first saw the subtitles right now, but part of me was like, oh man, the first time you didn't get that dub, like you didn't have that. Because that's to me, that's like intrinsic, like it's all tied in. That dub is so like needed for that opening, but if you didn't know any better, you just went in and
first time I saw it in Mandarin. So I think that the dub, the first time, I can't remember when I first saw it. I think I maybe had a bootleg DVD so I could get the English dub for the completist. I was kind of collecting stuff. So I think I probably had the pretty standard. I can't remember which company put out the most of those bootlegs across in the States, but I had one of those copies of it at some point between then and now. So it certainly wasn't the case that I first heard the English dub when Arrow released the Shawscope set, but usually I'll always migrate back to the original language if I can. There's very few things that I kind of favor the English dub for over the original language, unless I'm just dipping in and out for nostalgia. Dirty Ho, I still love a lot of the lines in the English dub one, so occasionally I go back for a good dish.
When you watch like Arrow and that, and it's a new one, will you watch the English dub and the subtitle? Will you check out?
Yeah. Generally, I kind of like to go through and just sort of see. Mostly, I just dip in to check and make sure it's the voices that I know and love from the kind of the old school sort of proper dubbing crew, which it invariably usually is. Yeah.
I think that's the fun thing about seeing films in their original language and dubbed, that they offer two very different experiences. Like if you're gonna kind of follow along with the plot, pay attention, and kind of analyze the film, you might want to go original language. If you want to have fun and just get those classic one-liners and just that kind of childlike glee, then often we go for the dub track. And it's just great that this genre has those two different options, and they've got two different kind of experiences.
And there's so much less info on the English dub. Usually you get so much more on the subtitles.
Yeah.
So Shaun, what was your first time watching it, and how was it on the rewatch?
My story is actually similar to Dragon's in a way. I did not come across this one early. I did not own it on VHS, but I can say I believe the first DVD I owned of Kid with the Golden Arm was the Ground Zero DVD.
I know that
which,
one,
if you remember Ground Zero,
oh yeah,
it was like tape to DVD.
Copy of a copy of a copy.
Exactly. The picture was truly abysmal. But back then, that's all we could get. So, we'd watch them like that.
One thing about that one, real quick, is that all those Ground Zeroes were so chopped up, like Mic'd Avengers. Like even in the dialogue in the opening was missing. It just like they cut a line. That was so strange.
Oh, yeah.
But the Golden Arm, I remember that one at least was a complete, pretty much.
Right, it was all intact. I didn't remember personally, but I remember owning. I owned quite a few Ground Zero.
They were so washed out, man. It was like sometimes it was so washed out that it was hard to even
It's the
pick
orange
out a
and yellow
character
ones,
against the background sometimes.
Yeah,
like because everything would just blend into like one sort of grayish mess. Really, it was crazy.
Yeah,
man.
And once the Celestial DVDs came out, I couldn't get the Celestials because I didn't know where to get them from in the UK. I didn't have a connect really. So
we found each other back then.
YesAsia.com, right?
Yeah,
Dragon,
totally. Yeah. Jason
Funny
knows.
thing is, I ended up on hkflix.com, which is an old site I sometimes bring up, and they had the Celestials, but I actually saw the dubbed version, the Pan Media, the bootleg label that were also Red Sun and also Bonsai Media.
Yeah. And they would have been so much cheaper, right?
Exactly. They were literally like £8, I think.
Yeah. And
seeing that, I opted for that instead. So for years, I actually had the Pan Media version, which was a shitty bootleg. But when I first watched the film, again, Dragon, I'm kind of similar to you. I liked it. I didn't love it. In fact, I'll go as far as to say I may have even thought this was a lesser Venom's film, kind of in the lower half. I remember just explicitly thinking that I didn't like the fight scenes in this one. And the reason being, I thought they were too like dance-like. I thought they were overly over the top, if you will. And I know Kung Fu films are over the top by nature, but this just seemed the phrase I think I used was too choreographed. And that's what I felt. Now, watching it these days, I've changed my tune a little bit. I will admit I have a slight difference of opinion than what I once did, but I don't want to get into opinions just yet if we're not diving into reviewing it. Jason, do you want to talk about your history first?
Yeah, however we want to do it. But I think I'm on the same page as how you guys feel on this. For me, what it was is I had seen first Crippled Avengers, known as Mortal Kombat, a few different ones on television, and then I slowly got into bootlegs years later. But the Venoms one I saw, I loved them all. I was just obsessed, like in 1986, 87, when I was 6 or 7. Loved them all. And then I had read Rick Meyer's book. And while reading that, you'd see the Golden Arm, and just I could feel the vibe of Golden Arm. The pictures looked amazing. Everything looked so cool. And then there was just a vibe about Golden Arm before I saw it. It just felt like it was like a top tier Venoms movie. And I remember I was like 14 or something. My mother would say, "Hey, I'll order you a couple movies from that for Christmas." So I'd pick the two. And I remember we were going to my grandma's, and before we went, I popped it on, and I like to use some music metaphors. You know how you can listen to an album that has amazing production, and then the band's next album, right out the gate, if the production's a little off for the rest of the album, you can't quite get your footing. Like it kind of, it's like
a new sound. And
it just something felt off to me. I love the intro. The intro was absolutely amazing when it showed his arm, and it was a bootleg. It was like those clamshell ones, and it actually shot up. It said "Kid with a Golden Arm" on a black screen, and then showed his arm, and it was so cool. I love that. But I remember Chang Sheng when they're fighting the 7 hooks or whatever, the fighting just felt very slow to me. And it seemed like, and I guess I got to fast forward when I watch it now, going off what you're saying, I feel, I did my Venom Mob countdown, and I feel the characters in the comic book element brings this up, it brings it up a lot. But the fighting, I feel this is, I'd have to say out of 21 Venom movies, this is towards the bottom, I think, on the fighting quality. It gets much better by the end. I feel like they forgot to undercrank it or something. For 1979, some of the fights, it's just like when Chang spins around, and it just...
I know what you mean. I hate that. When he just spins around like 7 times with his axe, like, calm down, dude. Yeah,
and then also it seems extra close quarters on this one. I don't know what was going on. It's like very soap opera-ish, and the trees are all coming on, and there's odd takes. It just, something seemed a little off on that. And my gut instinct watching it was, kind of like how you said on Born Invincible, Shaun, is that like he had got everyone in a room and said, okay, you're going to have white hair, you're going to do this. It's like the ideas were amazing on this. The characters were badass. You had the gang. It is so cool. But it just, the story's a bit lacking, and the tight quarters and the fighting not being as good, it just falls down a bit. I think I had it at number 6. On the rewatch, I think I'd have it at like number 8, maybe 8 or 9 for the Venoms. It dropped even more. So I'd say on the iconic status, it's amazing. I can hear the crowds. I will get in that later. I can hear all the people now like, what? Because this is so beloved. It's crazy. But it just, for like what Dragon was saying, you have Invincible Shaolin, you have these ones, and the fighting's amazing. The story's so good. You're so invested. This is a bit more lighthearted, a bit more like la-da-da, it's kind of in the music. And I like that to an extent. But for Venom's movie, it comes off, it very much reminds me of like a theater play. It reminds me, people will leave and they come back in, and the sets are very, very tight. I feel as a theater play, this would be awesome, but movie wise, I think it's pretty good. I mean, actually, that's the thing. I'm talking relatively speaking. I think is a Kung Fu movie. It's awesome. It's really solid. It's really good. But because the Venom's movies are so great, you're taking it like, looking at it as like a James Bond thing, like you could have on its own in a bubble. It's great, but when you have to compare it to all these much better ones, so that's where I landed on it. It just always has I didn't quite get the hype. And I know, Shaun, when you've talked about it, this in 5 Deadly Venoms, that also, when I first saw it, didn't quite live up because I saw it a little later than the other ones. But now I think Venoms has broken away from the pack. I'm starting to really see 5 Deadly Venoms is just really hitting for me. And Golden Arm sadly kind of going backwards a little bit,
I wonder if it was possibly a bit of a troubled production as well, because this was definitely the last time that Wei Pai worked with the rest of the squad. I think it was his last time working at Shaw Brothers. After this, he didn't do very much post this. He went over to Golden Harvest and really tried to make a go of it over there. He did
Master Art for Chivalry. When was that one?
Yeah, Master Art, I think same year.
Was that earlier? I didn't know whether that was same year or earlier.
And is he not in The Young Master?
Yes, he's in. He's the brother, the adopted brother.
But it's not a big action role in that. And I think, for those, I'm assuming that most people who are listening to this are big fans of the Venom, so they maybe know about Wei Pai's troubles. But he was pretty sick at this point. Like, he had really bad Tourette syndrome. And I think
so that's true. Actually, I've heard mixed things where people said he didn't want to do it because he had Tourette's, and then other people have tried to dispel that and say, "Oh, it's not true" or something. But
he definitely had Tourette's. I don't think he never not wanted to continue trying to be involved. But I think it was just getting to the point where it was really hard to work with him because of the fact that he had this condition. So he had there was something that whereabouts did I hear this? I think it's there's a really good video essay called Poison Clan Rocks the World on the Shawscope box.
Yes.
I think it's Brian Bankston who does that.
No, are we talking about on this disc?
On the Shawscope set, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's Tico, Terrence Brady, the guy that did the Chinatown Kid book. Yeah,
you're right. Sorry. Apologies to both those dudes because they're both awesome. But yeah, it's a really, really good video essay. And I think he's the one that speaks about certain things would trigger his Tourette's to flare up more. And I think sometimes I can't remember if it said when he was using weapons or when he wasn't using weapons, but it was one or the other. So he was sort of like a little bit limited in what he could do. And you kind of get the sense that maybe they were having to rework a lot of stuff on the fly because his character's not really doing a huge amount of action, even though he's kind of the sort of heroic character. And then he gets poisoned and he gets dispatched pretty quickly after he recovers from the poison. So I wonder if there was a lot of rejigging going on. And we look at what else they were doing that year. It was a packed year for them all, right? They had 10 Tigers of Kwantung, which had been made earlier, but there was issues with that production. Life Gamble was 79, Shaolin Rescuers was 79, the Daredevils was 79, and Magnificent Ruffians was 79. The squad was busy, as is not uncommon for Shaw Brothers guys, but I kind of feel that maybe the one that suffered a little bit in the making was possibly the Kid with the Golden Arm, because there's all the ingredients are there, right? Like, I think the concept of the gang's really strong.
See, that's that's the interesting thing. You know how people, or Stephen King says that he was such a coke addict in the 80s that he forgot that he wrote Dreamcatcher, is it? Is it Dreamcatcher he forgot he wrote?
No, I think it was The Shining. It's one of those ones, Cujo or something. There's one he can't remember anything on it, yeah.
Yes, he says he was so coked up that he completely forgot that he wrote the book. I feel like this is Chang-Chi getting coked up and forgetting he made a film, because it's got so many concepts, like you were saying, Dragon, like thrown in there. At one point, halfway through this film, I think he discovers House of Traps, because he kind of starts building up to a House of Traps thing and then plays it off for a little bit, but then 2 or 3 years later, he'd go ahead and make House of Traps. It's almost like he's coming up with all these ideas and just kind of throwing it at the wall and seeing what sticks. And in a way, I kind of like it, because it's kind of chaotic. The characters are bizarre and interesting, and it's very colorful and vibrant, and it's got a ton of ideas. It's got people getting poisoned, people getting needles in it. It's got it's got unique weapons, very interesting weapons that you don't often see. And I like that, but I also see how one could call this film messy, right? I think it's easy to say that. But yeah, I wonder if it was trouble, because it does seem like it's kind of a combination of elements rather than a coherent, kind of well thought out film. Yeah. Although I like it.
It's weird because this same week, right, I've just finished this article for Yunhua special for Eastern Heroes. So I've been having to revisit a whole bunch of Yunhua movies. And the ones that I kind of got to include this time, because they've just been released, was the two Shaw Brothers movies that he was in that just got released by 88 Films, which are both Sun Chung movies. And To Kill a Mastermind, I watched kind of the same day as I ended up watching this. And To Kill a Mastermind is very similar in some ways of kind of what's going on with the plot and the storyline of kind of a criminal organization that's stacked on different tier levels, and it's so much better realized in almost every way than
I was going to stop you, because that's early on. You were saying we should maybe I kind of want to do that still for the podcast. You threw that in the bucket saying if you like 5 Venoms you got to see it. I own it. I just haven't got to it yet.
It's Kill a Mastermind. It's a great film.
It's so
okay.
Good.
We should let's put that on the back burner as an idea.
I know I won't speak too much about it, because we'll definitely get into it. But the one thing that I kind of ended up saying, my sort of summary on that little bit when I speak about that movie, was that I said that Sun Chung deserves absolutely to be kind of held up in the same regard as Chang-Chi and Cho Yun and Lau Gar-lung, and for some reason he never kind of does. He's I think people are coming around to Cho Yun a little bit more since Cho Yun passed away so recently, but Sun Chung still kind of doesn't really get spoken about as being quite as incredible a director as he was. And I think, Jason, you spotted it straight away of how Kubrickian he is.
Oh man,
his attention to detail and his focus, right? And so he was so on it in To Kill a Mastermind in every detail, that coming to the kid after watching that, I think probably really maximalized the lack of focus that kid has, right? But I think we're definitely in the minority on this, because the fan response overall to Kid with the Golden Arm is crazy. Most people say it's their favorite.
I guess I should probably hop in on Dragon requested me to pull up some of these.
Yes, please.
Yeah, so letting everyone know at home, on my Martial Arts Theater 3000 YouTube channel, I did a Venom Mob countdown, and that's when I really start seeing everyone saying, "Oh, Kid with the Golden Arm." People were upset they had it number 6, you know, and I still can't wrap my head around when you see Invincible Shaolin.
Now, Jason.
I know. And so it was coming in. So, but then I did Who Are the Venom Mob? And this is a short that's just been taken off. It's up at 90,000 views right now or something. Yeah. And people, it's my highest video, but people are just coming in and they just keep, I don't know why people, when they just want to write something, I'm trying to talk about the Venom Mob, but they keep saying, "Oh, it's great, but Kid with the Golden Arm is better." They're thinking I'm talking about the 5 Venom movie, which I do mention at the end. I do say that it's considered one of the best movies of all time, because that's also what I noticed. That's the two things. I've said this, I think, a few times on the podcast, is if you asked me before this whole movement came with all these movies and social media and everything with 88 Films, all of this, I thought everyone just be talking about Enter the Dragon as the kind of casual one that, your parents saw and everyone's are just crazy. You see a little bit of that, but man, 5 Venoms people are obsessed with. They think that's the best thing ever, especially in that Shaw Brothers group and all these groups. But on my video, that one, people just coming every day just saying it's good, but Kid with the Golden Arm's better. So looking at the comments here, one here says, "Bro, where's Kid with the Golden Arm?" I mean, just saying the Kid with the Golden Arm was the best. They all starred in that too. That's true. Although the Five Deadly Venoms was the first martial arts movie that came on the drive-in theater on Saturdays at 3:00 on Channel 5 in New York, I like Kid with the Golden Arms better. And that's another thing. You hear Golden Arms a lot, which actually makes more sense.
Golden Arm, yeah.
Yeah. Golden Arm is strange. I guess that's a play off of, there was a movie right before this, like a few years earlier.
Yeah.
But what's it called? Man with a Golden Arm or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, interesting.
And then some of the other, Kid with the Golden Arm is my favorite, but that was 1979. That was on my 1978 video. Kid with the Golden Arms is better. Don't forget about Long Axe and Short Axe. Kid with the Golden Arm should be considered the best of all time. Kid with the Golden Arm should be considered the best film along with 30. I mean, this goes on and on. This one just says the man with the golden arms in all caps. That's this guy's. So the point is, I mean, people love it. And I feel that actually influences me because I love the culture of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when I sit down, and the podcast gives me more of a critical eye, especially when we did the Venom Mob countdown. I really want to kind of like, I don't want to say poke holes in it, but you kind of want to hold it to a higher standard, of course. You know, you don't want to just have the nostalgia glasses on. What it is for me is it's presented in a way like if you didn't see all the Marvel or like origin story movies and you just go into the Avengers, you know, which I don't know the Avengers too well. Actually, I only saw a little bit of that, the 2012 one. But my point is it reminds me these characters are so well formed, but you know nothing about their backstory. You know, it's like you don't really like. You can't ascertain much about why the Kid with the Golden Arm, you know, and that's kind of the point. But even when Iron Fist starts telling the story at the end, how he killed all these people at this lake and what really happened, like it has nothing like that for Golden Arm. He's just, and that's, I have a bit of a hot take. I don't feel like it is much, but in a weird way, I feel like Lo Mang is almost like a weak link in this movie, strangely, because he's Kid with the Golden Arm, right? But he's always in the background. He comes in and makes his notice, but he's like barely in the movie. And it's just so strange. And it doesn't have, like we bring up Pai Mei, it doesn't have like showing him killing all these people. He's just so arrogant. And he's supposed to be, I guess, younger, like much younger than them all, you know? And yeah, I don't know. It just I just wish it had a little more backstory and to give him a little more, you know, intimidation. Like you just kind of see him come in. It's just, like I said, lighthearted, but yeah, it's just strange that he's not in it as much. I do love all the characters in the Iron Robe, and you kind of learn about them by what happens, you know, with the Iron Robe. And I'd like to bring that up. Did you guys play around with on the Arrow, how they did a reconstruction on the negative? Did you watch that extra? Did you hear about that?
No, I didn't.
So on the Arrow, there's the Robert Ty interview on the disc, and then there's the Poison Clam Rocks the World that we talked about. And then I'm not sure if it's in that section, but I think it is under special features. It says alternate version, and I clicked on it, and it said the original had a what's it called? Like when it's not continuation, when there's like an issue with
continuity.
Yeah, continuity. Continuity, sorry. But yeah, no, that it has an issue with that. So what they did is they took the negative and I guess they did a seamless branch, they called it, to fix it. So what it is a guy comes in and says, "Oh, Iron Robe set up a signal," right? He says that, and then Golden Arm has to leave. And then whenever Guok Choi's fighting Wang Long Wei, he then, or right before that, he sends up the signal. So it's like out of order. So Arrow made a nice, using all of it, looks just the same. He just has him throwing up the signal first, and then the guy comes in and says it.
Okay.
Yeah, so I thought that was pretty cool. It just fixed it. I would have never. Yeah, but we're so used to some plot holes. I never actually noticed that there was an issue with that. You know, I thought maybe he sent up multiple signals. But that's really cool of Arrow, how they go above and beyond to do something like that. They went and reconstructed it. But I'm not sure if they assumed this is what it should have been, or they just noticed that and did this as like an alternate version. You know, it has like a little paragraph. It says early home videos had this sequence, which, you know, was out of order and like, or something.
I could see, given some of the people they were working with on that set, I'm sure, like if it wasn't something that they were aware of, they would have been made aware of it by from Alexander or from Brian Banks, or kind of one of the people that are real deep into the lore and into the different versions of the movie that are around to have brought it to attention, have been like, hey, you should fix that.
Right. It's cool though. Yeah. So watching it on this time, the fights are strangely slower. I wish there was more of like Kid with a Golden Arm in it. But all that said, and this goes back to me when I send you guys a picture of when I saw this in Tarantino's theater. That was one of the ones. I'll tell you, the two movies that took it to the different level. The fight scene seemed electric there. When he broke the sword, everyone's going, "Yeah!" You know, you can. It's like a comedy club. The guy can be amazing.
Dub or subbed when you saw it?
I can't remember offhand.
Okay.
I can't remember. Yeah, I saw so many shows. That was actually when I first heard the phrase Shaw Timber. I just moved to LA and I had that ad mat and I was like, I'm in heaven. I was going down there all the time. And sometimes it would be Dan Houston came down and I met him and he had some beat up copies, but sometimes they borrowed them from Celestial and it was weird. It was like watching the Blu-ray up on the screen. It was so clean, you know? Yeah. And I think those ones were subtitled usually. But the thing is those fight scenes, everyone's going crazy. It's like, imagine an amazing comedian. If the room's not getting it, it kind of lowers it. But if the fight scene's great and the people are going ape shit when he's breaking the sword and the pole when it goes.
That sword beat that's one of the coolest beats in the movie. That's a very, very cool idea.
It looks
that's
great
kind of like
too.
That's about the only thing that really shows. I mean, I know that we see the poisoning, but not the poison, but like the damaging his internal chi. But that's one of the only things that really shows off the fact that he is this like real superhero of martial arts, like that he's that high above everyone else's level. I mean, obviously he's pretty impervious, but we saw him being impervious in Five Deadly Venoms, and I kind of thought the hook in Five Deadly Venoms for him kind of having that kind of iron skin was kind of worked better as the Toad for me in a little bit. It almost felt like it was kind of an afterthought because he's called the Kid with the Golden Arm. He's not called the Golden Kid or something. You're not like the name doesn't necessarily make you automatically expect that he's going to be impervious to all attacks, right?
Right.
You just expect him to be really good at punching. But no, that sword moment is dope.
Well, you know what other movie though that I never fully got for some reason was Five Fingers of Death. Like for some reason, I thought the hype around that would just exceeded it, like how good it was. When I saw that in the theater, I completely got it. Now I adore it. I love it. I think because when I was younger, watching all these ones, it does have like I like slower movies, but back then I wanted a little more action, and it just watching Lolé and all that. And also because my parents. I mean, this was so big in America, that kung fu craze. Like my parents, my aunt, people who had never watched Shaw Brothers were going to see Five Fingers of Death in the theater. And it was kind of hitting around the time. Remember when they had like pornos in the theater, like Behind the Green Door and Deep Throat? It was like, this was like a similar thing. Like, whoa, these are in theaters, and your aunts and the parents, everyone was going to see these things. As far as I know about the porn, but that was such a craze. So I was like, whoa, Five Fingers of Death. And I saw that image. But when I went to watch it, it took like a half hour to get going, and he's going to do this tournament or something.
I was like you. Years ago, I was like you. I couldn't well, I won't say I was like you. You probably didn't feel this way, but I couldn't stomach slow films. I always wanted the ones get to the action. I really wanted it to move, and films like even One Armed Swordsman and the Chinese box, a whole bunch of Wang Yu films. I just overlooked them. I watched them and I was just like, oh, this is boring, I'm not interested. And then years later I watched them again. I was like, well, what the fuck was I talking about? What was I doing? These are absolute classics. But I think it's interesting. Like we've talked about this pretty much every episode about how tastes change over the years. But what made me think about that specifically with this film is when I was 18 years old or around that age, this film was not celebrated that much. I don't remember people talking about this film, right, and saying, oh, Kid with the Golden Arm, it's one of the best, you've got to mention Kid with the Golden Arm. But so what happened between back then and now to thrust this one into the limelight? Is it that it's now available on Blu-ray, or what is it?
I think it happened before. I think it happened before, and I think it's something that it's still a little bit alien to us, Sean, because we didn't grow up with the sort of nostalgia of seeing it on Black Belt Theatre, and it kind of being this sort of like real, I guess, lost gem that you've kind of found and can connect with at a really impressionable age. And so I think, like, because Jason said it straight up front, like you were what? How old were you when you saw this for the first time? 7?
Well, no, I saw Crippled Avengers and all that at 6 and 7. I was right there. I lived in Philadelphia, so New York was like an hour and a half, 2 hours away. So I lived in New Jersey. I was getting Philly 57. We were all sharing that. They were all getting, like you said, the Black Belt Theater, drive through, all this. Yeah, it was like a phenomenon. And I kicked myself. I don't know why. Like, when you're young, you just don't like have sometimes you just do something so dumb and I kept using the same VHS tape. I taped Crippled Avengers and I loved it. Instead of being like, Dad, can we get like 3 more tapes? I would just go, and I loved it so much and I couldn't get it again. It couldn't rent it. And I just remember I'd go to bed just dreaming of Mortal Kombat. I wanted to see it so bad again that when it took me to 1993 that when I saw in the back of Black Belt magazine, you could order it. I think I had like a cold sweat on me. I was like, oh my God, I can order it, So I have mad respect for guys that had that with Kid with the Golden Arm and had to wait longer. It's like it's like in your DNA. I get that. And that's a Dragon. And I think now with social media, you can hear everyone's voices more. You would hear the critics and the people in the books and stuff and the magazines, fanzines. But they're and you know what? I will say I didn't hear this in 2004 when I first got on the.
Right.
It used to be the forums. It wasn't. Yeah, it didn't have this groundswell that it does now. And I'm not knocking it. I do think there's a little bit of a mob mentality sometimes. Like you could be like on a Led Zeppelin Reddit thing, and if everyone starts saying physical graffiti is the best, and people might start checking it out, it creates like a snowball effect.
Yes.
Not saying they don't think that. But I think people just start typing this before they like, "Kid with the Golden." It's like,
it's also, I think it's probably one of the titles that's easier. It's a very memorable title, even though I don't think it's necessarily the most apt title for what's going on in the movie. But it is a title that captures your imagination a lot, right?
Right.
Definitely. And I think it's kind of the whole notion of him, and there's a Jaws factor a little bit to Lomang in this, where he's so built up by the fact that we don't see him that much, right? So what we were speaking about a minute ago is maybe being something that's a detriment to us because we love Lomang, so we get the maximum amount of Lomang we can see makes us happier, right? Whereas I think that from a character point of view, the fact that we don't see him builds up his mystique a bit more, and maybe you can sort of see what they were trying to do from that point of view of holding him back a little bit, so that when he does kind of show up for that big last reel, and the last reel is pretty long, like the last half hour of the movie really is the kind of climax. It's really it's pretty drawn out from the point where he dispatches Wei Pai in a pretty brutal, even for Chang-Chi, pretty brutal way. With the twisting of the sword is pretty gnarly, right?
Yeah.
All that stuff works pretty well, but then it just kind of flows into his battle with Kwok Choi, and then basically the girl coming back, and it's
and the reveal of Sun Chen, the reveal,
totally, it's that basically the last reel is the last third of the movie. It's not the last reel; it's like the last 3 reels. But kind of from that point of view, you can see that for a lot of people, they're probably. It probably had a pretty big impact on them as kids, and has stuck with them. It's crazy. Even when you're speaking about the years when it didn't come out. Like I know you're in your 1978 video. People are like, "Man, you forgot about Kid with the Golden Arm." Like, well, no, it didn't come out in 1978. So it's not on my list of 1978 movies.
Exactly.
We're still straight in there to kind of tell you about it, just because I think, it captured a lot of hearts and minds.
Yeah. It's a fight fest as well. For those that like action, I mean, there's a ton of it. And it's one of the few I won't say one of the few films, but it's one of the Shaw Brothers films I often see float. For example, earlier today, I was just sat around doing nothing at home. I just thought, okay, I'll watch The Kid with the Golden Arm. It was on Tubi, of all places.
Interesting. They have a great collection there, but they didn't have Shaw Brothers for a while. They're slowly getting a few, right?
I was shocked to find it because all I did was just a generic search. I mean, I could have just gone and grabbed my Blu-ray, but I was too lazy.
Well, I'll be honest. Tubi was a thorn in my side because I don't do them anymore because YouTube would take them down. I would do where to stream Shaw Brothers movies just for people that aren't into these boutiques and stuff. Yeah. So I would do them and instantly YouTube would take it down thinking I was trying to like find these illegal things and I had to like do a petition. But everyone kept typing Tubi on it. I was getting so annoyed because back then there was 0 Shaw Brothers on there, and that was like, I was like, guys, it's not. And I just got so annoyed because I was like, it's not on Tubi, But I guess they slowly start getting Shaw Brothers on Tubi.
That's the only one. That's the only film I searched for. But it was, from what I gathered, it was the Celestial DVD version. It definitely didn't look like the Arrow, but it's subbed as well. It's not the dub, so
Tubi is crushing at the moment. They've managed to do a deal with Shouts. They have all of the new restorations of all the Cinema City stuff up there already.
Wow, on Tubi, right? Don't you mean Criterion? It's Tubi as well.
It's Tubi, man. I don't.
Criterion don't have them yet.
Criterion haven't started. Criterion are doing a season when they're going to bring them, but Tubi's got and they'll do both the subbed and the dubbed versions. It's even got the Shout logo at the front. It's got at the front end. It's got their Hong Kong Cinema Classics.
So you can choose. You can switch the dub on it to
two different options. So
two different options.
You can't switch midway through, but yeah, they've got them all because a lot of people were able to go and see these at the cinema, right? So there's been loads of people. Like my feed's filled with people going to see all the Cinema City stuff on the big screen, which we can't do here in the UK. But Tubi had them really early on. Like I think they've been up there for like 6 weeks at this point. 7 weeks. Yeah,
that's interesting.
A good time. That's a good time for Hong Kong.
There is something, on Bruceploitation and stuff. I mean, I always do love the ritual, even of just taking off the shelf, you put the disc in. There's something to that. And it kind of teaches your brain they're going to just really devote your time to this. But there is something nice in this streaming community going on Tubi. I could see the appeal of just like browsing and grabbing one, like on there. And I've they have better commercials. Some places have such bad commercials. Tubi does it right. It's not like intrusive. It's not too horrible.
Mm-hmm. And I think so many people are probably watching these on their phones, right? So I think it's still like when you see the percentage of how many. It's the most popular, man. It's like I think when you see the stats for, it's kind of the same when you look at gaming. You kind of think of how big gaming is, and then you find out how much of gaming is mobile gaming. And it's like the percentage is insane. It's like 87% or something of all games played are played on mobile devices, and so this huge industry that makes billions and billions is still only capturing like a tiny percentage of the market of people playing on consoles or playing on PCs. Right. The vast majority of people are doing everything on their phone. They maybe don't even have a big enough TV, or they don't have a 4K player, or they don't have a Blu-ray player at home. They're literally, their phone is their only connection to their entertainment.
I respect that.
And I think that's why we see so many people asking where to stream them and where to get them. And our minds go straight to, you're trying to bootleg, you're trying to download a copy. Now they just want to watch it on their phone, on their way to some whatever crappy job they're working, right? And I kind of get that. And I think, it's cool that it's up there. And it's cool that even Shaw Brothers themselves are now starting to recognize that maybe they should start making their stuff more accessible, and they've been giving a bunch of titles away for free on YouTube, and so like, but actual legitimate with a decent English subtitles on them and stuff. And
wow,
it's nice to see.
I'm sure Dragon, though, you agree, like cinematography wise, that's brutal though. Honestly,
but I'd be lying if I said I didn't ever watch content on my phone, because I totally do. I'll take my phone to bed, and before I drift off, I'll watch. Watch something on Netflix or Amazon Prime or something.
I like to do it on a tablet, though. I think a tablet at least takes it to that a little more that you can take something in. It's a little more, an immersive wise.
A tablet is far too triggering to my cat. Like I can get away with a phone, but as soon as I bust out a tablet, it turns into his mission to try and like knock that or scratch it. It's like your Godzilla set you had to get rid of because it was like a war. And that was just a red flag to, or a red rag to a bull. He was not happy. It's gone.
So I got a question for you guys. What's your favorite, if you had to pin it down to one, what's your favorite fight scene in this movie? I'll do mine first. I hope it doesn't influence you. I think it's when Guok Choi and Iron Feet, Sun Chen, that version of Sun Chen, obviously, when they go, I think there's such a nice rhythm, because you don't often see that Guok Choi can hang with kicking that well. And that's another observation. If you watch that, did you guys check out by chance the Robert Tai interview on the Arrow? Did you get to see that?
I have before, but I didn't for this rewatch.
So you saw the one for this kid with a golden arm, though. It's so interesting. I don't want to say like cocky, but he definitely has an arrogance, like a confidence, where he's just saying that like Lau Kar-Leung was influenced by him, and he was saying it. Yeah, oh my gosh, you got to watch it. It's 23 minutes long. He's just telling it like it is.
Everybody. Yeah.
But he says a good point. But he does say if what Chang Che wanted, it's so interesting. He says Chang Che paid him for 2 years. He wanted him so bad, and he didn't even do anything for 2 years. And he said just so he would so Chang Che could have him like indebted to him. And he was so indebted that Chang Che would give him a book and say, you got to read this. And then he'd quiz him the next day, and he'd be upset because it's like he had this thing. I paid you $10,000 a month or whatever. It was crazy. But he was saying if they tried to hang with Lau Kar-Leung, they knew they couldn't do those stances. They couldn't do the stance style, and they couldn't do these different ones. So they went the opera kung fu route. But I will say on this, strangely, there's so compared to Daredevils, compared to Shaolin Rescuers, so much less of the opera style. I think because they were kind of weighed down with these outfits and the swords. It's like I was yearning for that, even Flag of Iron, like even that fighting style. That's like the Venoms overall are, I would say, my favorite. I mean, I love Bruce Lee, but the Venoms is just, it's it for me. It really hits all the marks. But this didn't have that Venom's fighting style, like especially those close quarter. You didn't see the crippled Avengers and them doing these crazy somersaults and different moves.
I wonder if part of the thing that's maybe feeling weird for us is the fact that it's unlike most of their other movies together. It's very one-on-one fight focused, and most of their other movies, they work out the most wonderful ways to do a multiple of different
ensemble stuff.
Yeah, completely. And they really lean into the ensemble stuff a lot more, but like hugely so in Five Deadly Venoms. And I think they get it the most right in Crippled Avengers because the story is right there with it. Like the story is backing up the reasons for why they're doing things together, right? And so there's so many beautiful little touches that are story beats in the fights in Crippled Avengers that really elevate the fights up to a different level. And I think there's something about them working together where it's like it never becomes an assault on the senses. Like somehow they're able to choreograph these scenes where you're able to perfectly see what's going on, even though there's like four dudes all sparring each other at the same time. Right. And they're able to like use and break down, delineate the space so well, which is nuts to me, with no video tap, no ability to check what you've done. Like there's just the sheer confidence of knowing, okay, we've got that in the can, right? Is mind blowing to me.
Oh, Brave Archer 3, that finale. I mean, that's like such a Venom blowout. Brave Archer 2, I thought would be tough to beat. When I finally got to Brave Archer 3, I just could not even believe what I was seeing. It just was absolute insanity.
Those movies never get enough love, man. Like none of the Brave Archer movies get.
I've never seen them.
Shaun,
really?
I've got the box set.
Wait, have you ever even started Brave Archer 1?
Yes. In fact, I would go as far as to say I think I've seen Brave Archer 1. I just don't remember it very well. But I've definitely not seen any of the others.
Oh, dude. Okay.
Sorry, guys.
You need to have a binge on Sunday. You're going to be in heaven.
Yeah.
So the problem is people say they're
burn.
I was going to say people say they're a lot, right? They're quite meaty as far as like plot goes.
There's a lot of story going on, but I think once you realize that it's not super important for you to understand the beats of the story, because there's those novels they're adapted from were so long, and I think they mix up. Sometimes people are playing different characters. Sometimes actors are playing different characters that another actor in the same movie had previously played in a different Archer movie. And so you're like, wait, what? Huh? But ultimately, I think it doesn't really matter. It's not going to impede on your enjoyment of the film's structure and its sets and its design, and particularly the choreography, because the choreography is so good. And I think, those Brave Archer movies are superb. I think in my mind, I always expected I was going to watch a movie about it was going to be like CW's Arrow show, right? It was going to be something I was going to see an awful lot of like arrow play. I don't actually think anyone fires a single arrow.
I know. There might be one,
possibly, but certainly it's not that.
Shaun, how it goes over I was going to say the trajectory of it is so interesting because it's like a Fu Shang movie through and through at the beginning. And then as the years go on, 2 is like a blend, the Venom start coming in. By the time it's 3, it's like a full-blown Venom Mob. You have the baby Venoms in it. And I'm telling you that finale of Brave Archer 2 is an amazing one too, but it'll blow your mind. It's like so long. It's like 20 minutes longer. It's insane. Well, and Chuko's shining in it. It's like a Masked Avengers insanity blowout.
Yeah.
Okay. I just got a subscription to the Criterion channel, so I was about to tackle all the Godzilla films because I haven't seen any. I've only seen about 3 or 4 of them. Okay. But I might bring the Brave Archer set kind of to the front and get them out.
Godzilla. I think Godzilla is a tricky one to binge watch, right? You'll find that. I come message me before you start that, and I'll give you like 3 or 4 of the Godzilla ones that I'd say like you're gonna have a great time if you just watch these. There's a couple when it gets too into the realm of trying to make movies for kids, and they're I love Godzilla, but they're hard to get through, right? But there's some of them that are so incredibly good that they're so much fun and like they work so well. So but I'd say that it's probably only about like how many movies on that Godzilla box? It's like 15, I think. Of those 15, there's probably I'd say 5 that are
really,
Well
like, really
worth
decent.
Same amount as the Brave Archer. But on the Brave Archer set, though, the same amount of movies. But I got to warn you, Brave Archer and His Mate that's my lowest ranked Venom's movie.
You don't need to go there unless you're feeling a hankering for seeing Leslie Cheung in a Shaw Brothers setting. Then it's nice to kind of see from that point of view, and seeing a guy in a bird suit inexplicably. But the first three movies and the fourth, I still got a lot of time for the fourth one actually. Or wait a minute, it's the fourth one, Brave Archer and His Mate.
It is Brave Archer and His Mate. You were thinking of the fifth one, the Maiden.
I was thinking of the fifth one.
Okay,
Yes.
Okay. Brave Archer and Little Maiden. In His Mate, I can't remember.
His Mate.
I'll be.
And His Mate.
No, that's 4.
No, that's 4.
That's 4.
Oh shit! Okay.
I still like 4. I think 4 is a bit twisty. Is 4 the one where the guy's trapped under the bell for like a huge chunk of time?
I think 4. Okay, I don't want to spoil it for Shaun, but 4 is strange because they have Guok Choi take Fu Shang's role. Which is such an odd move. Yeah, and then Fu Shang's playing this weird, like, crazy dude who's like off his rocker. So it's just, it's there's not much action. It goes back to way less action than the 2 and 3. I can like I said, it's all relative. Even though it's my lowest Venom's one, it's just kind of, I have Heaven and Hell down there, and then I have actually, and I think I was wrong. Ode to Gallantry's. I almost want to like someday do like a quick like redo because Ode to Gallantry.
Ode to Gallantry, man, it's so good.
It is good. It's great. It's going up for me. It's gone up a lot. They're also
a choice showcase. It's like he gets to do so much, right? He gets
That's
like
the one I haven't seen as well.
Oh wow!
It's like real joy. That and like Sword Stained with Royal Blood are the other one that never gets enough love, and it's another really, really good outing for Ko Choi.
Yeah.
Well, to bring it back for a second though, can you guys? We forgot to go back. What's your favorite fight scene that sticks out to you?
Oh shit! Okay.
Yeah.
For me, so I'll jump in. I'm pretty much in the same sort of place. I think it's the Ko Choi stuff towards the end, and I think I do really dig his fight with Lo Mang. I think that there's maybe a little bit more tricksy stuff going on in his fight with Sun, but I think I probably would go for Lo Mang and Ko Choi.
Cool, Shaun.
I love the Ko Choi stuff towards the end, but I don't like those little kind of forky weapon things.
Weird, right?
I'm not a big fan of those, especially when the chains come out and he starts.
Oh, I thought that would have like redeemed it for you, James Bond, a little bit like a.
I don't know. It just wasn't great. But I do have a huge soft spot for Liu Feng. He's my favorite Venom. And what he can do with a spear is just unbelievable. And I'm not sure who he fights. I'm trying to think of a fight like midway through the film with Liu Feng.
The big one is Chang Sheng.
Oh, it's Chang Sheng. Okay, okay.
When the guy comes up behind him and cheap shots him, stabs him through.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Although it's got the spinny axe move that I really dislike. I don't like long axe. I think that weapon's a bit clunky, but Chang Sheng with the short axe, I kind of like it. It's interesting, something a bit different. So
they're like only. Oh, that's a good choice. That's a good. You know who I really have never loved is, I think this is like one of his best. I do not like Wei Pai very much. I don't know why. He's never. I think he's cool in the Venoms. And Invincible Shaolin, he just kind of like fades in the background for me out of the characters. I think it kind of made sense that they became like the core 5. I know technically.
100%.
I mean, I say like the vowels and sometimes Y. That's when I talk to the Venom, sometimes Wei Pai. It's like he's like kind of the add-on. But yeah, I don't know what it is. There's just, I don't know if it's maybe like you said. I mean, there's even strange moments where he's gonna like he got stabbed through and he's gonna go at him and he just falls over. It's very odd. Like I don't know if that's it's just he didn't have that many moments to shine. I did like the Sandpaw moment when he has to go in. That's kind of cool. I mean, he is dynamic and he has a presence. It's just as a Venom, I kind of am happy he got out of there.
Maybe a more interesting. Let's say this in the most charitable way we can, because I'm right there with you. But I think maybe he was a more interesting actor than he was a martial arts performer.
Like
he's got more charisma on screen, because the stuff with him that works the best is all the stuff when he's not fighting. It's like when he's interacting with the girl, and I'm forgetting the actress's name. But
it's a funny name. It's Wendy Poon. That's her name. Which I wanted to talk about her with you guys. I want to ask you
when he's interacting with her. Like you buy the scenes, you buy the relationship, you buy the dynamic, and I think he sells that character pretty well. And I think he's very different to how he is in Five Deadly Venoms, which he's really super sneaky and he's really like he plays the rich arsehole kind of like rich arsehole criminal so well in Five Deadly Venoms, and I think he's very different again in Young Master and in Ode to Gallantry. So I think not Ode to Gallantry, sorry, Last Hurrah for Chivalry. So I think he was a good, solid actor, but he just maybe wasn't the greatest performer, probably because of the shit that he was having to deal with. Because his Tourette seemed to have a lot of physical tics.
Was Last Hurrah for Chivalry his only lead role? I can't think of another film where he.
Yeah, I think it was his one shot. I think it was Golden Harvest giving him a chance to see if he could.
It seemed like he found his footing a little more over there. Maybe not, like, you know what I mean? Like
very much after that, though. I think like after he'd done, I think Last Hurrah might well be his last. I'm just pull up Hong Kong movie database.
You also said Young Master. That I think he's
Young Master's pretty late. Young Master's 1980.
Yeah, was Cheeky Chap? Wasn't he in Cheeky Chap?
Was he?
That's a very Shaun line. It's something you would. I think I've heard you say that before.
Wait. I could be. Yeah, he is in Cheeky Chap. Oh, that was 1980. Sorry, and he's the lead in that. So he was the lead in something else.
I used to think Unilad was the most British word ever when I used to see that. Cheeky Chap. I don't know. That might have beat it a bit.
I actually own Cheeky Chap. I think cool. I think it's some type of
Cheeky Chap. I love it.
It's a very it's a kung fu film, but it's very comedic. Very
apparently he's got a little part in The Prodigal Son as well. I totally don't remember him. Oh yes, he is. He's one of the other students.
Yes. Yeah.
Of course. Okay, so Sammo was using him for a while, and then after that he had a gap of 7 years and did something called Jianghu Liao Duan in 1988.
Interesting.
Which I've never heard of.
Is it a mainland film?
With Hong Kong movie, Cantonese, alongside Sun Chen for Lam Yi Hung, but I don't know which company released that. Not a company that I have heard of. So that sounds pretty low budget. And then his very last entry is for The Devil and the Ghostbuster in 1988.
Wow.
For Ho Lin Chow.
Cool.
And then beyond that, I'm not too sure exactly when when you go.
I was going to say, who Wendy, I think that's her Americanized name, Wendy Poon, but she reminded me, I can't even say that seriously, but she reminded me of, I don't know why, when I first saw her in this round, I for a second thought she was the wife from Heroes of the East. She gave me that vibe a lot.
Oh, okay, a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's a Japanese woman, but I thought maybe they just had her over here in this for a second, and then I was like, no, that's not her.
No, she's definitely Chinese, I think. She did quite a lot. Apparently she's in Dirty Ho. I totally don't remember her being in Dirty Ho. She was in Heroes of the East, but she was just a guest at the wedding.
Oh, what a coincidence.
She bridesmaid.
Was also in Crippled Avengers as Doo's wife. She was in...
Oh, yeah, she gets killed at the beginning, and then he cut off young Lu Fang's arms.
Legend of the Fox. Return of the Sentimental Swordsman. Jewel of the Century, Black Lizard, Clan Feuds, which is a great one. She did a bunch. She kept on acting right up until 2004.
I have to say,
a lot longer than some of them.
That was such a treat. Like I want more and more. Like thinking about the Venoms, and when you props to Arrow, just that Robert Ty interview packaged with Poison Clam Rocks the World, it gives you such insight into like the backstories that there's so much voids in this. You know what I mean? Like when you could look up Marlon Brando and know it's Zero he ate and everything. There's so much info. It's just endless. What he did at a nightclub, what he did, all this stuff. I mean, I just wonder if there's some weird, like, I don't know, I think there are some old like Chinese magazines from back then that some people have sourced. Like there used to be someone on Instagram who would get them translated to kind of do the interviews and get way more information. But I just wonder. And I love to hear all that in that Robert Ty interview and to learn about that. And they asked him point blank, they said, so did Chang-Chi ever come and do any of the fight scenes? He said, oh no, he would just go to sleep. And he even like gave the schedule. He would say that he was working. Chang-Chi just kept saying, I want you to start getting the camera work. I want you to start doing editing. And he's like, they'd work till 2 a.m. He'd go home and shower and he'd fall asleep at 4 a.m. He had to get up at 8 a.m. and go and edit. And then Chang-Chi would stroll in at 1 o'clock and like ask him, did you read that book and stuff? And then he said like Chang-Chi would take over like the scenes outside of the fight scenes. And I think he had a little more with the fight scenes earlier on. Well, actually, earlier on, I imagine with T-Lung and them, I think it was a little more hands-on. This is like later for him. but they said he would just he said he would go fast to sleep. I don't know if Robert Ty is kind of like controversial. I don't know. Does he have like, is he kind of?
I think there's a lot more going on because there's like, there's that wonderful Robert Evans quote. Like Robert Evans, you guys know who Robert Evans was?
No.
Well, who's the director of The Raid?
No, that's
Gareth.
Gareth. I like that your brain went there, but no. Robert Evans is old school Hollywood. So he was like, really wanted to be an actor, and he looked like he should have been a Hollywood superstar because he was impossibly handsome when he was a kid. Didn't really work out for him in front of the camera, and he very quickly moved into producing and then became the youngest ever head of Paramount Studios at one point. So
Okay.
Radical, revolutionary Hong Kong, Hollywood executive for a while. He produced Chinatown, and he was very instrumental in that kind of like late 60s, early 70s boom in American cinema. He's a fascinating guy. There's an amazing documentary about him called The Kid Stays in the Picture that if you ever get a chance to see, absolutely watch. But in that documentary, he's interviewed and he says there's 3 versions of every story. There's my version, there's your version, and then there's the truth, and nobody's lying, right? Because memories shared serve others differently, or something to that effect, right?
Yeah.
So people remember things a bit differently, they put their own spin on things. And
that's true.
I've read Chang Cheh's book, and Chang Cheh's takes credit for a lot of stuff in a similar way to what Robert Ty is doing. But I do wonder if by the time that he was working with Robert Ty, he was a lot more cautious of not wanting to do basically what he did with Lau Gar-lung, which was constantly clipping Lau Gar-lung's wings. He was constantly basically, I think he was getting himself so involved in the early days that it was really frustrating Tong Gai and Lau Gar-lung because they weren't able to do exactly what they were thinking of doing. So they were always constantly having to compromise based on what his vision was. And so Lau Gar-lung obviously naturally wanted to go off and do his own thing. And as did Tong Gai, went off and made his own movies as well. And so by the time that he was working with Robert Ty, you get the sense that he was maybe like, okay, I should be a bit more hands-off with this guy. I should actually let him do the job that he was hired to do, right? So I think there's probably a bit of that, giving Chang Cheh the benefit of the doubt, because Chang Cheh gets beaten up too much, man. And I think I really have a lot of time for him as a director. And I think
he's amazing.
I think he really never wanted to step on the toes of anyone else, or he never wanted to stop other people's careers. If anything, he lifted up so many people to give them careers, and I think he was incredibly generous as a filmmaker. And I kind of don't like the number of people that basically kind of rip on him after the fact. And obviously the most famous one is the story that we're not going to go back into again about him supposedly being gay, that Brian Bankston's done a really good job of debunking. And even the guy who raised those allegations kind of came out and reneged on all that stuff and said he was putting in too much of his own perspective in and finding meaning. Yeah, completely. Thank you. That's the word. So I think it's interesting what Robert Ty had to say, but I think all those interviews, particularly that Robert Ty one, they come from the amazing archives of Frederic Ambroisine, and we should give a shout out to Frederic because he's been doing incredible work for 2-3 decades almost.
Decades.
And going across to Hong Kong and interviewing everyone that he possibly could.
His questions are great too. He has if the person doesn't quite answer the question, he'll just rephrase it a different way and kind of hit you again with it. He wants to get the answer,
Mm-hmm. Completely.
And that was a weird interview. You could tell maybe it wasn't set up. Like he kind of ran into him at a convention.
Totally. I know which one. It looks like they run into him at a con and just it became a very spontaneous interview. Yeah, and he might have had a couple of drinks at that point too.
Okay. You think he had a couple of drinks, you said?
Yeah, maybe. He's pretty fired up, right?
Yeah, it's a strange interview. It pulls you in, and then he starts disparaging a bit. He's really throwing it out there. You got to check that out, Shaun. It's something.
There's the way that you normally like having shapes thrown, there's that amount of shade thrown.
I love that too. So yeah, it's definitely a special feature I want to watch.
For some reason, that when he said con, I was going to say when Shaun ran into Conan Lee at the
that was dope,
last
I should have pulled aside and said, "Can I have an interview?" and sat down with him for 10 minutes or something.
He would have charged you.
I've heard about that. That'd be cool, Shaun.
Sure, $1 million.
Yeah,
dude, if you went to one of those cons with, I don't know, Cyrus or someone with you, and just filming not nonstop, just try to do little interviews, that would be sweet for your YouTube channel.
I wanted to do that last time, but I just wasn't able to. I don't know if I'm going this year. It's in a few months, so I don't know if I'm going to go this year. But yeah, we'll see. I want to save up and go to the Big Bad Film Festival in LA next year.
Cool.
Because it seems to be just the action cinema kind of con to go to.
If not that, Toronto, like the Toronto Film Festival. Like,
Toronto's harder to get into, though, I believe.
Nowadays, especially, you used to be able to just have an ID. Now it's, I mean, I think you need a passport, but then in America, you need these real IDs now to get the license and all this crazy.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Yeah, they're really up in the.
I do want to make it to one. Anyway. Okay.
Hey, I see you reaching there, Dragon.
I am reaching. Well anticipated. Would you fellas like to hazard a guess on what for those who have maybe not listened to our episode last month, we're going to start a new tradition or institution here at the Mic'd Avengers, where we reach into the treasure trove that is Dr. Craig D. Reed's book, The Ultimate Guide to Martial Arts Movies of the 1970s, in which he gives a percentage score of how much of the movie's screen time is actual martial arts. So we did this on our last episode, and we're going to do it again here. So would you fellas like to hazard a guess of what percentage score Kids with the Golden Arm comes in at?
I think you're right, Dragon. We need that do. We need the Jeopardy.
Well, it's got a lot of action in it.
Just as a point of reference, just to remind ourselves, because we did do this last time. What was our last?
Born Invincible.
Yeah. So I actually pulled up Five Deadly Venoms. So Five Deadly Venoms has 19.6% martial arts.
Okay, that helps.
Born Invincible, which was astronomically high, I think, though not as high as you guys were expecting.
I thought 80% it'd be or something, but
yeah, it wasn't as much as that.
97%.
I've yet to find anything that's like above 50.
Well, the strange factor that I mentioned last time, you can take like Five Elements Ninjas, which has a ton of fighting, but it's a longer movie that has a lot of acting and everything between, and it stretches it so the percentage goes down. So you could, if you have a 4-hour movie, you could have 2 hours and it's only 50%. So depends.
So Born Invincible was 49.04%.
Okay, I'm going to hazard. I'll do my guess.
Right.
I'm going to say I'm going to go lower. Actually, I'm going to say 25%.
Okay.
I was going close. I'm going to even give it a decimal. I'm going to go for 28.6%.
It's like Price is Right, and you have to.
You're both in very respectable answers, both, because you're pretty damn close, both of you. Overall percentage is 31.42% for Kid with a Golden Arm.
Wow.
Just because I have them right here and we've just been speaking about them, just for context, the very first Brave Archer movie is only 13.72, and Brave Archer 2, surprisingly, is less, at 10.53%.
Wow.
Even though it feels like there's more, right?
Oh, absolutely. Well, yeah, you know what? The end fight is so amazing, but there is a long stretch there.
And there's a lot of story to get through in those movies.
Yes.
There is a lot of story, a lot of characters, a lot of story. But yeah, that's wild. I think 31.42% feels like a good average. I
like that segment, Dragon. I really dig it.
It's
you know what you've made? Well, you have this book too, right, Shaun? We've said.
I do.
Yeah, it's made me not want to pull it up because I want to keep this like honest. I'm not even.
I haven't cracked it open. Yeah, I haven't.
Yeah,
I did. I haven't done it since we started doing this.
It's something we can only do because obviously the book only goes up to 1979, so we can't do anything from after that point. So when we're doing newer movies, it's not something we can dive into. But anytime that we're doing something old, and interestingly, there is actually some Japanese stuff in there too. Oh. So I never actually checked. I'll check just while I got you here, because I want to see if Shogun Assassin is in here.
Yeah,
that one's the Satoichi movies. Does it have? I think they'll probably put it in under its American name.
Oh, you think?
No, weirdly, it has Satoichi's. Maybe it's under its Chinese name. Yeah, it's Japanese name. It's got Lady Snowblood.
That's cool. He actually said in an interview around that time that he was going to maybe do an 80s one. That's a bummer because this one's still in print and stuff.
Yeah.
Wow. Lone Wolf and Cub so low. Lone Wolf and Cub 1 is 7.72%. Lone Wolf and Cub 2 lower. Is 9.79%. So if we consider those two percentages mashed together for Shogun Assassin.
It must be what I'm saying. They must be longer than 5 Venoms, and that's why it's skewing. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? Like 5 Venoms might be an hour and 20, and that's why it gets a little more percentage of the runtime. Right. Mm-hmm. If you're at 2 hours, even if you have more, it's probably hitting lower.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh.
I have a plot point question as we wrap this up. I could not follow that poisoning of the gold, that whole section. Like I couldn't follow. I know what happened, but it tipped off. Oh, and we have to say, I don't know why we've not brought up how amazing Guak Choi is as Agent Haito, by the way. His whole demeanor. I think
he's wonderful. He's a
he
delight.
he's like the star of this. He really, his whole thing, you know. But it tipped him off. He knew that it was from the inside. You know, it wasn't from the Chi-Saw gang at first, but I couldn't really there was something lost in translation there. Could you explain to me by chance what happened there?
No, like I couldn't get, he just seemed to know, like he was kind of, his Sherlock Holmesing level was through the roof.
Yeah.
Like, and some of it could have been coincidence. Like he didn't get poisoned by drinking water because he never drank water. He just always drank wine. And I love that fake out at the end where you think he's been slashed, but he's now
so
he's
cool.
my best friend. And he's got that extra little hidden gourd inside of his red wine, which was kind of pretty cool. No, he's amazing in this. It almost, in my mind, I've blended together I think the last title card of House of Traps and this together. So in my mind, I always think that the end of this ends with him like gurning and doing a smile straight to the camera drunk, but that's the end of House of Traps
with the crazy hat.
With his mental butterfly hat, which is awesome. But this is the one that he just walks off into the sunset to go off and be with his best friend Wine. Yeah, man, he's great.
Yeah.
I mean, Coach is excellent in absolutely everything that he's in. I think he's he's easily my favorite of the squad. Him and Cheng Sheng are my two. I think that I could watch in absolutely anything, and it's just a real treat anytime they show up anywhere.
Yeah, how he carries himself, and he has a lot of different qualities. I actually think Five Venoms is one of his best acting. He is like his fury in that, and he's just you know whenever he finds out Toad was killed, just his expressions. It's so great, you know, because sometimes. I've said this, one of the Venoms, if you were going to say some of the weaker points, is when they get into that so much exposition, like in Sorbstein with Royal Blood. It's like they're just talking for so long and they all just get kind of glazed over. There's not a lot of emotion sometimes, you know, and it's like you're getting the story, but I like I've said before, show the story. I like when it can, you know, Crippled Avengers, it gives a little backstory, you know, you get to learn, you need that. That's what I actually wanted, a little more exposition in this. I wanted to learn, like, why is he kept with a golden arm? Why? You know, but maybe that's kind of the point. Like you see Chang Shang is what's his name, dual axe in this, or he has a when you see that
short axe and long axe.
Oh, short axe.
Right, short axe. When you see him, it's like a fully formed character. On that, it's just cool. You know, he's had some adventures. That's what's cool. This could have had like sequels and stuff that you could have learned more about them. It just strikes me, like I said. Yeah.
I'd go for a prequel. Maybe a
prequel, yes. That's what it reminded me of. I remember when I got Uncanny X-Men, the comic book, and I jumped in and I knew nothing, and like I was like so lost. That's why I love Conan the Barbarian, because they were like each one was its own adventure. You didn't, and there's not much you don't need to know. Conan's just mad, but when this kind of everyone just came in, and you just kind of. I just wish it had like a little more. Like in Five Venoms, you learn so much about each of them and their story.
The exposition in Five Venoms is so good. Like it's kind of one of my favorite Dick Way performances of all time. He doesn't do any fighting, which is weird because normally like that's what we think of him as being. He's such an incredible martial arts performer. Like he was so dynamic and so electric when he was fighting. And they stick him in like he's literally just stuck in a pot. But I wish that he cropped up in that pot in every movie, just like hand the camera across. He's just there. I had 5 pupils or some equivalent of just basically kind of going on to tell you long arm and short axe had a long history, and he was just there in his little pot at the side. Would have made me very happy.
Hey, man.
Sadly, that was not to be.
I also noticed one thing on the Arrow restoration. I was so used to like the Celestial. The Arrow, it seemed like they've changed the restorations a little. There was more grain on those first ones. It seems like they kind of, it's not quite as grainy, like on the, you know,
it just depends on the quality of the negative.
That's true too. This isn't the first one. This is volume 2. But when I saw Crippled Avengers, I just always noticed it was more like a matte finish feel to it. It was cool. It was really authentic. It was true to what it was. And it's interesting. When you see Celestial, it's like more, it's like brighter. It's kind of bright. And especially with it, especially with the shout, they like we saw on the Masked Avengers, they really cranked those colors. That is, the shout is really like,
they're super saturated. But this one's got, like, weirdly for a Chang-Chi movie, there's a lot of actual outside of the studio locations in Kids with the Golden Arm, right? Yeah. And those shots, I think, are always going to look a little bit different to the interiors because there was so much less light. I mean, it's counterintuitive in a way because you think surely if you're outside there would be more light because you've got the sun, but not the case. Like the lighting rig they had inside their studios, the Shaw Studios, was unreal. It's literally just like every conceivable bit of space in that roof was
Yeah,
given.
I've seen it. It's crazy.
And those enormous, massive arc lights they had at that point. I'm amazed that they didn't all melt instantly. Like under the
I think that picture is actually in that book. It says like one of the first ones. I can't remember which movie it was, but it said it shows the Shaw Brothers artifice, and it showed a zoomed out shot where you could see that.
Yeah.
And it's like playing in bands. That's one thing, is you see bands all the time, but when you get up on that stage, it's insane how you can't see that light. So they must have been sweating bullets under that thing,
And the amount of makeup and stuff, and so many of them have got artificial hair on. It must have been
wigs.
My thought when I saw those outdoor shots was, it was refreshing. I almost wish there was a little more on that. Maybe because the indoors in this one, you can really see the seams in the background on this one. Just something like they didn't like kind of hide it as much. You could really see like it's a drawing in this one. When I saw the outside, I had a yearning for Five Shaolin Masters because that's one of my favorite Chang-Chi movies. I adore that movie. I absolutely love it. And it's just so nice and it's also, rumored to be like really shadow directed by Lau Kar-leung. That was kind of like their last hurrah a lot in Taiwan, but it's just all outdoors. I mean, I don't even know if there's any indoors on that one, maybe a little bit.
Tiny bit, yeah.
Tiny bit. But it's just so refreshing in the midst of all this. Chang-Chi went outdoors a lot more with heroic ones and those early T-Lung ones. It's just when you got down to the Venoms, it really came indoors a lot.
A lot of them, I can't remember the split of how many he was making in Taiwan, but it was quite a lot of them. And the sound stages weren't as big, and they took a while to get up and running to the same sort of scale. And so he was kind of working with less. So I think he had to be a little bit more creative with some of the other environments. And Taiwan's scenery is so incredibly beautiful. Like, it's such an amazing, lush, rich kind of environment. And Hong Kong's got a bit of that too, but not a huge amount. And everyone went to the same spots. So there's there's so much familiarity to anytime that you see Jackie's movies. Particularly the early on ones, he was always in that same kind of like same few hills, right? They were always in the same sort of places.
There's Kowloon, like in Bruceploitation, they have the rock quarry. You always see the same, like it's that Enter the Dragon and the boat areas, that whole thing. Yeah, I almost wish when you went to Taiwan Dragon, I would have like had you hunt down some. I mean, who knows if you could find it? If there was like
next time, if we make it
Five Shaolin Masters, I want you to find some locales.
And it changes so fast over there, and they're like, shout out to anybody in Taiwan at the moment because they're having a real hard time. There's been brutal flooding there over the last couple of days, and a whole bunch of areas that have just been hit by a typhoon. So they're kind of really feeling it. As is Hong Kong. Like, I think I was speaking to Arna last night, and I think one of his windows got smashed and stuff because the storm struck through the night. So it's been pretty rough there, and they've not even had the worst of what's heading in their direction. I think there's a chance that the typhoon's moving from Taiwan back up towards Hong Kong next. So hopefully, for anyone who's across there, stay safe and stay out of the water because it's pretty grim.
Absolutely.
And wild.
All right, fellas.
Should we bring it home?
Yeah. Want to ask you though, any like parting thoughts or notes you didn't get to hit up on Kid with the Golden Arm? Like Shaun, did you get any funny observation? Maybe I just want to make sure we didn't miss a little Shaun.
No, not really. One thing I will say, not really a funny observation, but I think I'm the only one out of us that actually ended up liking this more this time around than I used to.
When you told like your history, you kind of you held off on your opinion. So that's kind of where it landed more on you.
So I kind of love it for what it is. And that's kind of just that chaotic, messy, throw everything at the wall, see what sticks kind of film. I kind of appreciate it for that, but also it has its flaws. But it's less that I really like the film, although I do like it. And it's more, I think I'm just feeling this happiness that I've discovered that I like it. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Like you watch a film and you're just like, oh, I don't really like this one. And then I watch it and I'm just like, oh wait, I do actually quite like it. And I think I'm riding that high rather than riding the high of absolutely, actually seeing a great film.
And I should preface, or not preface, because I should postface that I think for both me and Jason, it's not that we don't like it.
I was just thinking that. I know.
It's just I love it less than the other ones, which are like.
I know. If I enraged them
coming from
before, Yeah. If I enraged them putting it at 6 and now I'm saying, yeah, I had the same disclaimer. I mean, I think it's great, especially on its own. It's just that there's some people that come into this and know Venoms and know Kid with a Golden Arm and don't know some of the other ones. When I'll post Sword Stain with Royal Blood, which I wouldn't say that one's not as good as those two. But when you get to, I mean, the whole upper tier there, with Invincible Shaolin and all those ones, especially, I mean, Crippled Avengers, for me, Masked Avengers, I think really trumps this one. I think it just, all of it, so I just think if you do love the Venoms and you only know the big hitters, I envy you because there's so much to dive into, and it gives you that you can rely on them. It's like a James Bond. I bring that up because it's when anything can go on for dozens of movies and hold that same sort of, they changed who James Bond was, but when you get those straightaways though, or the aesthetic you can rely on, it's almost like a series. It's like watching Breaking Bad or something,
Right.
I just love that Chang-Chi for whatever reason. It almost, when you hear his story, it's kind of strange. He really ran with this for so long. I mean, he did work with teams. He does do that with Chi Lung and all that. There's just something about the Venoms. And that's what I learned in that documentary. I love that he actually, after it all split up with Lau Kar-Lung, he was going to call it quits, but they gave him it's kind of like Custom Auto with Mike Tyson. He had been with so many boxers and it gave him a final, lust for life, like a final zest, So I love that and I know he did do 1990, Ninja and Ancient China and those different tail end ones,
Yeah.
But for all purposes, this was his swan song, with Five Elements Ninjas.
Certainly, as far as the last Venom Mob movie, they were all together as well, and so I think.
Well, I don't mean this movie. I mean the Venoms in general were his swan song.
Completely. Yeah. They're definitely towards the tail end of his career, 100%. But even this movie specifically was kind of the last time that all of our original Venoms were all together, and it's crazy because when we speak about it, and because we're so far removed from it in time, we have a tendency to really draw it out to think of oh man, there was this amazing period of time for 20 years when the Venom Mob were flying high. Not really, man. It was 2 years.
Oh no, I know you're right.
Pretty much all their movies together in that space of time, and the fact that they did so much with so little in such a short period of time on such tiny shooting schedules is mind blowing, right? They're incredible body of work that they did, and their legacies went on in different directions. I would have loved to see what happened if Chang-Chi hadn't died so young, and because he was so incredible behind the camera, and I think he could have had a career comparable to Yun Tak. He could have done more choreography on other things and got into doing modern movies the way that Philip Kwok did. And I love that Philip Kwok was so open to doing other things in front of and behind the camera. So he would go on to be one of the greatest villains ever in Hard Boiled, but then also would go to France and do the choreography for Brotherhood of the Wolf. I love that. The more that you find out about what he got up to, he's in a Bond film to bring it back to Bond, and Tomorrow Never Dies he's in, and he did all the choreography
Michelle
for
Yeoh, right?
Yeah. And I think all of them were just such distinctive personalities that it's the ensemble that's probably worked the best. I know that Chang-Chi had the Iron Triangle, and I've got a lot of love for David Chang and Tae Lung, and a huge amount of love for Jimmy Wang Yu. But I think there was something about their spirit as a group that just worked perfectly. So even when the movie doesn't hit quite as high for us as Kid with a Golden Arm kind of doesn't, it's still a magic time. It's still a magic experience.
Absolutely.
It's still a really, really
I agree.
to watch.
Yeah. Well said.
For sure. All right, guys. Well, thanks everyone for listening. We just want to thank everyone, and we're excited. This was our 12th episode. It flew by. It feels like it was 12. Yeah, I just can't believe it's been a year. And thanks to all the listeners. We really appreciate it. And, we got some exciting ones coming up here, and
fuck yeah, I'm so excited for the next one. I'm not gonna say what it is, but god damn,
I don't even know what it is.
I'll tell you in a second.
I love when Shaun does that.
I cannot wait for the next month. I love doing this episode, but I think the next episode is poised to blow Jason's mind wide open.
It's
an intervention next time. That's all.
I think I know which it is then. Sweet.
I can't wait.
I'll get into this more next time, but the interventions have been working. With Shaun's great interview with Scott Atkins and all this, it's
incredible, by the way, dude.
Thank you.
Yeah. Speaking of, check out our YouTube channels, Shaun, Food for Thought, and Dragon, the Fanatical Dragon. and mine's Martial Arts Theater 3000. We appreciate you guys checking it out. And yeah, Shaun's been crushing on these interviews. But my point is, it's like I had a resistance, like that's what the intervention is. But just I always think Scott Adkins is like such a personal guy in interviews. But something is about that whole scene. I just haven't, like, you guys are getting me baby steps into the modern martial arts movies, and that's the point. But it's all doing it. And I will say I Saw the Devil, still, it's sitting on my shelf. Like someday I'm going to give it that second one. That spooked me a bit. It was like, it's weird that, I mean, I just love that it's just, well, Human Lanterns had some crazy moments. So who knows what's there on some other old ones that I've not seen, but there's something about the modern era and take it to this, like, it could be bloody or gory, just crazy, it just the modern can take it to a more demented zone.
Yeah,
sometimes,
that's definitely the case. Well, you say that you've gone baby steps so far. This next film, we are literally throwing you into a swimming pool filled with offal. So
wow.
no more baby steps.
Okay, cool. I'm diving in.
Yes.
All right, guys. Well, I had a great time as always.
Thank you, guys.
So, all right, fellas. Goodbye. I butchered that one. Thanks, everyone, and we'll catch you guys next time.